So, how's it going? I am bigSHow, theGod. Today's discussion or thoughts out loud is what I put in the title. Probably got excuses. Now, excuses are a kind of an action word that I like to use. Yeah, I think I can frame it or apply it in different areas, which for me help highlight areas that I could that might otherwise be in a bit of a blind spot. And I find the word excuse quite a an emotional kind of lift if I use it at certain times. For me anyway. Because with my type of mindset, I can apply excuses to almost anything. So that one action in itself helps me go from this point and look at it from another perspective by saying, is that an excuse? It becomes more and more useful when you're comfortable. So comfortable and excuses don't go together. Especially on the level I try to take it. And I realize that most of it is to generate some type of change. The compliments change when applied. I won't even say in a negative context. It's actually applied in a positive context within the framework of what you're trying to do on a whole. Some people think it's negative. We're using excuses, whereas I think it's a good piece within it, within the whole process of encouraging change, reanalyzing, being skeptical, re-perspectivizing how you're coming at a particular subject. It's a very useful word. That's why I've used the word excuse versus what people would probably argue is a more positive word. So what I thought I'd do is I took some notes on that, and these are at the frame of mind I'm at right now and how I want to use the word excuses to get me moving. And as all my previous podcasts, are kind of goal related, process related, et cetera. So with excuses, I'll use a phrase. What I did today, was it towards goals or was it towards staying the same? So what I did today, was it towards goals? Because as I mentioned, I planned my day. I planned today. And I planned that yesterday. I planned for the future, or plan for tomorrow, or plan my next move within reason. I'm not crazy with it, but I have a general perspective of planning fundamentals of my day. Now, when you're like that and you've got that as a bit of a process and a system, phrases like this start to help review and motivate you to do more, or to adjust, analyze, change direction a little bit, tweak it, modify it. So a question like, what I did today, was it towards goals? And if it is, that's great. Then you can explain it. Now, what happens over time as you start explaining, you go, well, just as an example, it might be if you got a fitness goal. And you go, yes, well, yep, I did, because I went for a walk, or I went for a run, or I did a particular thing. Tick. Okay, the next day I did it again. Now, unfortunately, doing the same amount will have its perceived benefits, but progress is not always obtained that way. So don't get me wrong, fundamentally, walking every day, meditating, health, all those sorts of things at a consistent level will always have a side benefit to it. And that's fine if that was the goal of that. Correct? So the walk, for me, although a side benefit may be that it burnt calories, it allowed me to stretch and use muscles. It's not to build any. It wasn't to increase my cardiovascular heart rate. It got to exercise it. A little bit like getting up and down. It did that. But if your goal is in fitness is this, which maybe you want to be 10% fitter, or you want to be stronger, or you want to be bigger, or all this sort of stuff, well, that's a start, and that's a foundation, but that's not pushing you towards your goal. Correct? So that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. And those are where the tough things come in my opinion. Because it almost can be, from the outside looking in, you can almost say, well, a lot of that is that you're just being busy. You're just doing. So doing without constantly actionally looking at the benefits and the side effects and the improvements and the progress and those things, you need to look at them, in my opinion. It doesn't mean you take them away. What it means is that you apply a tweak, you apply another. And what's really powerful about this is that you may reduce something else. You adjust something. to get more out of this. So when you already have a good framework and a reasonable system going, having is that an excuse mentality allows you to influence and in a way focus you back to what was your goals? Are you doing those? And what's the reason why you're not doing the step towards your goal, which you planned and prepared for and identified potentially? Then why didn't you do that today amongst it? So yes, there could be great benefit in going for a walk. So that was done. Got it. Don't confuse that with, oh yeah, that's towards my fitness goal. If your fitness goal is this, whatever that is, right? Because now that just becomes, although it's positive and it's something, but I identify it for what it is. That's what I'm sort of saying, because what I found within myself quite easily is that I can associate that with that was better than nothing. Agreed. But it wasn't a step towards my goal. In the goal category, it can have an emotional feeling. It can have it can even have a social feeling, collaborative. I could be walking with others. It can tick quite a few boxes. Okay, don't get me wrong. But don't assign that to progress or adding a step to your goal. If your goal is this, which I do, I have other goals. And so don't let positive pieces of your day assert that you're progressing, even though you may be. You've still got to prove that it's assigned to your goals, which is a victim I fall to. Well, it's a side effect I fall to in that. And I guess too, this and that can lead in from an excuses perspective is how that's a distraction. So that becomes now a distraction from your goal. Because the act of doing that, well, yep, the walk was great. You went to the gym, you did a bit, but the goal was this, and a step towards this goal is to start doing this, whatever that step is towards your goal. Or was that done? Was that done today? Yes or no? Was a piece of that done? Now don't just say, oh yeah, I went for a walk, so that's a piece of this. It may well be if you couldn't walk before. Now you've been walking for 3 weeks. Okay. Now the walking for 3 weeks. Okay, got you up, got you moving, got you starting, got you progressing in other things. Cool. Careful that that's not associated to the goals that you have. Because the more you do this, you'll realize that, well, I've realized that I'm avoiding something or I'm not doing something towards this goal because it's fucking difficult or it's hard or the goal is a goal, or it's challenging and it's emotionally painful and it feels ugly, right? And it's not my go-to. So you're on that. So I guess it's one thing to say, got to focus, don't get into reduced distractions. We'll start realizing, I'm realizing, is that some of my positive actions can actually support or can actually become an excuse towards my goal if I let it. Okay. And that's coming back to comfortability again. Oh yeah, I went to the gym, I did this, I exercised a bit, I did a bit of that, and I went on my way. Felt real good, felt great, went to work, did lots of bits and pieces. Yep, progressed in that, challenged that, mixed and mingled with that, came home, did something else. Great day, right? To some people. Well, hold on. Where in there did you work towards your goal? Oh, over here with my career, I had a compensation with someone. I got this project done, had lots of energy. I went through, smashed this out, got this delivered, got it all prepared. And that's true. I understand. But back it up. You had a fitness goal here. And it's still there. You had a nutrition goal. You had relationship goals. You had, so that's my point. Financial goals. Whichever. Did that step you towards your financial goals in that day? Oh, I didn't have to do anything for that. Okay. Have you planned increasing your income? Have you planned reducing your cost? Have you planned? These are all bits, right? That may be over here that you're avoiding or not doing. Just saying. Because it will become very clear very fast that sometimes we can have it's like you get up, go to work, you're going, well, I'm going to work, I'm earning money, I'm doing this and doing that. Got it. Well, earned some income, did my job. Is that getting you towards your goals? Yes or no? It's just a simple question. No one's answer is no. There's a reason for the no. Cool. Tomorrow, ask the question again. No. Okay. Well, when? Well, what? Oh no, I did this bit, but I'm waiting for this. I need this to happen. I'm waiting for that. Or this person wasn't here, or this wasn't happening here. Okay. Now we're in the excuses realm again. We very quickly went from, I've been progressing, I'm earning money at a job. Yeah. How much do you have left? How much is it enough? What were your goals? Well, none of this steps you towards that. It's hard to hear, but that's just the reality of it. So, and I guess this is why I do this process for me in the same way as to how to make steps towards the next thing. Am I stepping closer to my goals, or am I just making more excuses for saying, well, look at my day already. Here's my day. What a day. Did that. Whew, pretty balanced. So along those lines, so what I did today, was it towards goals or was it towards staying the same? And that's a good open-ended question. And then we go subsets of that. We can start going, what did I struggle with today? If the answer is nothing, then it's pause for concern, right? Because a big piece of what we talked about, what I've mentioned here, of the steps towards goals is the reason we're probably not at that goal. Unless your goal was to be dead, because you're still alive. But when you've got a goal, for a lot of us, the goal has been there for a while. And if the goal is here, there's a struggle. There's some type of struggle to get to this goal, regardless of what it is. Because if it's not, then you're there. And then once you're there, then you've set another goal. If your goal is just to stay the same, or then I'm not talking to you, I guess. So what did I struggle with? Because 99% of my goals are a fucking struggle. Struggle to be consistent. Struggle to stay on track. Struggle to focus. Struggle to do something that I'm uncomfortable doing. Timing. Lots of pre-planning. Lots of organizing. Conversations, communication, all those bits are there for me to go up a step on this. So what did I struggle with today is a pretty good question. On that basis. And then we start going, what more did I do? So it's what more did I do? So the did is the past. It means I did. The more. So that is another lead in. So I went for a walk. I did some weights. Yep. So what more did I do? What more did I do than the status quo? Even though the status quo can be difficult. Don't get me wrong. The status quo was a lot. I got up at 5 a.m, went to the gym, had a workout. It was energetic, all that stuff. Sweet. Did I struggle with it? The answer is yes, then it's yes. Then it's probably taking me towards my goal. Now, if I struggled with it and it was just a status quo, then it's still taking me towards my goal, because that means I'm at, in real time, that's where I'm at. Now, if I had the workout and I walked in, had a shower and thought nothing of it, asking the questions and going, did I struggle today in the gym? And the answer is no. Well, was that a step towards my goal? And don't get me wrong, I'm going to have different days and different times where we can use this, but it's a definitely relative question. And it's a real good way of going from, am I just doing for doing? Is my habit just a habit for a habit? How do we bring intentionality to something? How do we bring some focus to something that we do all the time? The experience isn't new. It's not fresh. Eating ice cream, what do you do after you've had chocolate ice creams every day? It's hardly, I'm so excited to have some chocolate ice cream. It's no different from anything else, right? So the struggle, what more did I do? So those are all very self-centric ones. Then there's another question we go, what influence did I have on others today? Okay, what are you on about? What influence do you think I had? sends us down a questionable road too. It's easy to say, oh, positive, chatted to someone else, freaking thing. What influence did I have? So those are just a few kind of areas that I get on. So another few bits I wrote down, I've gone over this, I think, in a way that we can understand it. Excuses versus doing. And the doing is towards my goal. And everything else is an excuse. Even though it sounds like, but you went for you did something positive already. You were exercising, or in that frame. And that led to doing more over here in this pillar for career-wise or for relationship-wise. I'm not disputing that. What I'm disputing is, don't let that lead into that's leading me to my goals. It's foundational. It's like drinking water and all that sort of jargon. Eating right. Doing those steps. Got it. Tick the boxes of proven methods. Now what's next? How do we have a concept of, man, I had extra energy today. That was great. I had a workout. I had so much energy. I ate this. I was making so much energy. Then what did we use the energy on? So all this extra energy we had. I was so alive today. Man, it was bloody great. So what did you use it on? Oh, it was here. I was really energetic and I played video games, or I sat around, or I don't remember. Okay, well that's the point. Because struggling and doing other things takes a fucking lot of energy. So you got the energy. So push myself, apply it to something that's just actually a step of a goal. And that creates focus, creates intentionality, creates responsibility, ownership, accountability. It's all created by got some energy, did fundamentals, great. That's my starting point. That's all it is. And that's cool. It's necessary. It's a vital piece of the engine. Don't get me wrong. Now, where are we? Now, that energy it needs to be used. Needs to be exercised. Needs to be flexed. You write down some shit. Wrote down some shit. Great. Had this energy. Write down these great fucking stuff. Whether it's planning stuff, pre-planning stuff, thoughts. Wrote down some more thoughts. Okay. Now I wrote down some more thoughts. Okay. Well, that was fucking helpful. Writing down some more thoughts. Where is it going? What did you apply it to? And you're right, you have. I applied it to this. Excellent. Tomorrow, would you apply now? You applied that, I've tweaked that, I've analyzed that and put that into there. Now we're getting the ball rolling. And it's always going to be a point we're going to get to. A, have you maintained that? A, are you consistent with that? And B, that's all consistent. Is that stepping me towards my goals? All this planning and pre-planning. Planning and the awareness, and that said it was. And now we're here. Now we're doing it. So in the act of doing it, is that actually, did I do that today? And so that's for me, a motivational, progressive way of applying that to my thinking. And so then that's So all the excuses and all that sort of stuff, and doing versus plans, it's like the habits versus progress. You need to spend some time and work on having these habits and having this type of thing for a certain amount of time. And then what comes from this is to still look for where's a blind spot in this. And I have conversations all the time leading on to these types of things, just to keep analyzing it. And part of that is with this is that's an excuse too, right? Realize that I'm part of the engine of excuses. So if I'm doing all the things, if I'm constantly planning, then where's the doing? Now, I know there's a lot of doing. I know there's a lot of planning. So my self-analysis is I'm okay with the amount I'm doing. And that's the issue. You see? That's where's the struggle in here then? So if there's no struggle, then I have an issue. Now, before I was very self-absorbed and self-content. I used to think when I was beating guys at sport, whatever the sport I was playing at the time, I'd rest on that. I'd rest on a win from a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And you apply the same methods this week, and apply the same systems. And even within that, I was practicing, I was training, I was learning, I was strategizing, I was doing all those things. Still only took me to this level. Got to that level. Whatever discipline I was in got me to that level. And yeah, but there was areas in there that I was struggling in, but I didn't struggle enough. I didn't focus on that enough. I didn't work on those areas. It may not have actually been here. It could have been an emotional area, a mental area. I didn't have enough self-awareness, enough comprehension, enough maturity, whichever ones you want to stick in the bucket, to complement my range, my level of skills. And that can be applied to anybody, or I could say that about anything. Don't get me wrong. But it definitely is a looking back over it. That's the conclusion I can have, amongst positive conclusions. So don't get me wrong, I'm not sort of lying in there going, could have been, should have been, would have been. Definitely not that. It's definitely more a realization of how much better applying these tools and supporting the struggle and the doing the work, identifying, are you working smarter, not harder, all this sort of stuff, identifying what they actually mean, what they actually look like in the framework of what you're trying to build. That's my point. And so from within there, with my skeptical way of thinking and being, I had a discussion the other day about rational thinking. So, which goes along this sort of using excuses as a tool. I can proclaim I'm rational. I can proclaim I'm logical. I can tell everyone I'm a logical thinker. that doesn't mean you are logical on the subject. That's just you proclaiming what you're trying to an outcome from a comparative. So when you assert, or if I assert that I'm logical, that I think logically, that doesn't mean you are logical in this case. Because logical applies the intent of a process. It doesn't mean the process may look logical, but it doesn't mean it's the only process. It doesn't mean you can't assert that it's a logical process without evidence and without sharing the process. At some point, it is logical. Now, we may agree or disagree on how logical I'm being about the subject. So now I'm asserting I'm logical and you're asserting you're logical. Agreed? So where are we? Who's the referee here? Who's more logical, or whose side of the fence should we be on, right? So the way to think about this, in my opinion, for me, there will be things that I'm illogical about, that I'm being illogical. And I understand that there will be. How do I convert that to being logical? Where in my in my development do I consider that? And these are even on claims that you go, well, no, X equals X. X can't equal Y. Well, it can. And so understanding that if I'm illogical, how do I know? If I think I'm logical, if I assert I'm logical, how do I know I'm being illogical? Correct. Well, I use the science methods. That's all I've got. I use science to reduce this, but it's not zero. It's just reduced. And so that's the journey of discovery and realization and learning and using this to understand that myself are irrational at times and illogical at times, and working on reducing it. And realize if you're being logical about something, but outside of that, it's a fucking excuse. Your logic is an excuse, right? I'm gonna play a guy in squash or basketball. He's this grade, he's this level. It may be logical for me to say, I'm probably going to lose. Probably going to lose. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do that. I'm probably going to lose to this guy. That sounds very logical, right? It's logical. Where was I going with that? within my abilities, that's a logical statement to make. I would think it was illogical to think I was going to beat him or win based on, he plays this, he's done this, never played him before. The evidence, the things will definitely suggest that I would probably lose in that rule base, right? That seems very logical thinking. It'd be illogical if I thought otherwise. Yet, there are plenty of cases where people do think that. Right? Now, let's take out whether they honestly feel that or they're just, trying to give themselves a mindset of positivity. Well, I prefer truth, and I prefer working through the truth, so that reduces my illogical thing. So that's a logical thought. But how do I change logic? A logical that framework. How do I change that? Well, I either improve myself, or I have different conditions that we play under that I win. A strategy, a different angle from how we approach it. Or winning wasn't what my goal was. Right? So I changed something in there that made this, I could logically do it. So just questioning what I think is logical and illogical, and knowing that it's difficult to understand. How do I know the difference? How do I know if I'm being logical or illogical? Oh, I've got all this evidence, got all this stuff. Okay. But how does that? It still doesn't mean you're being logical. That's just more stuff. Potentially more stuff that still doesn't lead you further to your steps. Still stuff that's not progressive. It's not getting us any further. Right? It may be strengthening, maybe hardening, maybe adding, maybe maintaining. Maintaining is a thing. Maintaining can actually be progress at some point. But then that's still a struggle. So it ticks a box, If lifting or running the same distance I ran yesterday is a fucking struggle, then that's ticks a box. It's a struggle. And that's the truth. That's reality. Well, is there more you got to do? Is there something else you can do? Yes or no? No, yes. Then the struggle's there. So then if the goal is to run a 3-minute mile, your goal needs to be fucking questioned, right? Because that's where this leads to. It's the only way you can lead to rationalizing your goals. So this is all part of your goals need adjusting, potentially. The steps towards your goal, the steps a goal. Well, then the goal is too far away, which is a big piece of analyzing the goals, back to honesty, back to that stuff. But then with an excuses mindset, it keeps that process honest. Being honest is, being honest, I can't do that. I can't do that. You sound like you're being honest. Sounds like excuses as well, right? So we need all the stuff to support us in progress. But then we got to have, is this irrational? Is this illogical? Is this logical? And that's rational. And the only part of that is doing again. It's doing, practicing, seeing, stuff like that. So yeah. So that's my rant on excuses. I gotta go.